My search for the Tokaido's third station takes me to a small rail stop, within walking distance of the main Yokohama station. Here, I have been told, the Old Tokaido still runs through town, though I quickly sense there probably isn't going to be too much that is very old about it. The incline Hiroshige is still there, allowing the careful observer to pinpoint his location, but unfortunately not a great deal more than that. Then the bay still fringed the Old Tokaido, providing the houses and inns built alongside it a magnificent view. There's no need to go look for that view today. It is gone, another victim of land reclamation. Since I have a ways to go today, I decide to take a taxi, assuming driver Koichi Miura will know the current path of the Old Tokaido better than I.
ここは旧東海道の道ですね。そうですね。
It is only partially true, but a query here and there confirms we are indeed on what was once Japan's busiest road. But to be perfectly honest, I'm having a hard time imagining the importance of this road in the past. With massive daimyo processions passing through town, along with the constant flow of ordinary travelers. Now it is a plain and ordinary street, running slightly off the beaten path. The cityscape hardly changes, and I'm starting to assume the fourth station of Hodogaya will not have fared much better. The Tokaido seems to dead end at another station, but actually, it just continues under the railroad. Just beyond is the site of Hiroshige's print. This is what Hodogaya looked like in his day. It is a small village with thatched houses. A bridge leads into it. Some palanquin bearers are crossing it, along with a Buddhist monk. Today has brought no improvement. Not only have the river and the little bridge disappeared, the latter has been replaced by a small wooden replica. To be honest, it doesn't quite work. The next post town also lies within Yokohama city boundaries, so I'm already resigning myself to a dreary morning excursion. But that proves a bit premature. At first, the Old Tokaido parallels the rail line that connects most of the post towns of days past. Then it merges with the new Tokaido, now called Route 1, a designation it retains all the way to Kyoto. But just a little further, the Old Tokaido branches off again and continues onto its original path, a much quieter road, with residents eager to lend a helping hand whenever I appear unsure.
左曲がって足を渡って少し50メートルぐらい行くとね、右これが旧東海道。
The right turn marks the onset of Gontezaka, once considered a dangerous slope. The only danger I face is that of getting lost. But even that is relative because there are plenty of helpful people along the way to steer me towards Totsuka, the fifth station along the Tokaido of old.
突き当たります。
Hiroshige's depiction of Totsuka shows a fork in the road. For Kamakura, turn left, a signpost advises. The Tokaido, in contrast, continues over the bridge into town. In the foreground is an inn. One of its maids greets a couple which has just arrived. Travelers from Edo tried to make it to Totsuka for their first night's lodging, making it a busy place. Today it is more of a bedroom community for people working in Tokyo and Yokohama, many of them living in apartment buildings the Japanese somewhat euphemistically call mansions. I wouldn't mind seeing what such a mansion looks like inside, And with farmer-turned-developer Hideharu Kawahara, I have found the right man. Mr. Kawahara owns 7 apartment buildings, several houses, and 4 parking lots. That too comes with a long list of responsibilities, from making sure the property is built and maintained to renting it out. The renting part of the business appears to work out quite well. Young couples like it here because you get much more space for the money in Totsuka than nearer the city. Still, like many Japanese apartments, it is small, a bit over 40 square meters, and at 80,000 yen, not necessarily a bargain. A similarly sized apartment in Tokyo, on the other hand, would be 2 or 3 times as much, nearly unaffordable for many. As for most rentals in Japan, there are additional costs. Several months' worth of rent as a deposit, for instance, a parking space, the cost of utilities like water and heat. The latter may be reasonable for a small apartment, but it all adds up, causing housing to take a considerable chunk out of the average Japanese family budget. Living in Totsuka requires a commute, but with a Tokyo-bound train passing through town every few minutes, getting back and forth to work is no problem. In fact, it takes just a 40-minute ride to get to the capital, a considerable improvement over the Tokaido travelers of old, who took a full day to get there. I'm heading in the other direction, away from the capital, towards Fujisawa, the Tokaido's 6th station. The rail line connecting most of the Tokaido towns, today still called the Tokaido Line, was the first railroad to be constructed in Japan. When it was finally completed in 1879, it quickly overtook the old road in importance. People naturally preferred the train over the long trip by foot. Almost overnight, the Old Tokaido lost its role as the most important transportation link in Japan. Eventually, cars and trucks appeared as well, but the railroad never lost its dominant position. In fact, Japan's railroads transport more people every year, some 60 million passengers every day by a recent count. Fujisawa is the first former Tokaido town outside the Tokyo-Yokohama metropolitan area. There are some 400,000 people living here. On this quiet afternoon, some of them are shopping, enjoying a bit of sunshine, or getting married. Only 1% of all Japanese are Christian, but there certainly seem to be plenty of churches and chapels. But in Japan, appearances can be deceiving. Just because it looks like a church doesn't mean it is a church. And just because the priest looks like a priest doesn't mean he is one. But Vincent van den Storma happens to be a compatriot.
Ongeveer 70% van de huwelijken in Japan zijn nu christelijke huwelijken of witte huwelijken, eigenlijk kapelhuwelijken. Traditioneel zijn de huwelijken Shinto, maar een jaar of 20 geleden zijn de kapelhuwelijken in de mode gekomen. Waarschijnlijk door prinses Diana, door Amerikaanse filmsterren en popsterren enzovoort. En wat ik dan doe in Japan is zo huwelijken voltrekken. Natuurlijk, dat zijn gewoon symbolische huwelijken.
Welcome to a Christian wedding celebration. I'm happy to see you here on this special
Every
day.
large self-respecting hotel in Japan has one or more wedding chapels. Young couples thus have quite a choice when it comes to deciding on where to get married. To help them in that process, most hotels schedule demonstration weddings. There they are assisted by salespeople who explain what they will see and how much it will cost, and naturally try to convince them to get married in this particular place. because weddings are big business in Japan.
De huwelijk is toch wel voor de Japanners iets heel belangrijk. En vooral dat ze dat vooruitwenningen voor hun collega's en voor hun vrienden en voor hun familie. Vooral ook omdat het zo formeel is en symbolisch. En de Japanners houden van formaliteit. En daarom dat ze daar bereid zijn om daar veel geld aan te geven. Een huwelijk, algemeen gezien, kost ongeveer 3 miljoen, 4 miljoen yen.
I would also want to sit down if presented with a bill that size.
Let us pray.
And pray for understanding in-laws as well. Of course, for that price one also gets to ride in a fancy car and enjoy a sumptuous meal. But it will take most people a long time to pay it off. So I have mixed feelings about what is going on here, and not only because of the bill. On one hand, it's surprising to see what Christians consider a sacrament being imitated simply because the Japanese happen to like it. It may well be a very nice and respectful imitation, but it still feels somewhat strange.
You may now kiss the bride, wedding guests, the logo.
On the other hand, it shows that the Japanese take their weddings seriously. They obviously want to do more than simply sign a paper at the city hall, perhaps even more than the rituals of their own religion. And no one here appears bothered by that.
De hoofdgodsdiensten in Japan zijn natuurlijk het boeddhisme en het shintoïsme. Maar zelf, als we optellen wie zich boeddhistisch beschouwt en shintoïstisch, komen we uit aan meer dan 100%. Dus er zijn Japanners die zich zowel boeddhistisch vinden als shintoïstisch. Wat voor de Japaner belangrijk is dat er goden boven ons zijn. En welke goden dat dan nu zijn, of dat nu de Shinto-goden zijn, of dat nu Boeddha is, of dat een christelijke god is, dat doet er eigenlijk niet zo erg toe. En daarom dat zij er geen probleem hebben om naar een kapel te gaan.
That shows a pretty relaxed attitude towards faith and religion, which probably isn't such a bad idea. I remain surprised at what I've seen here, but in light of that, I can at least begin to understand it somewhat.